Good morning, everybody. It's story time. Come on, grab your friends. We'll go to imagination's end. Through song and laugh, there's lots of learning, and the fun never ends. It's story time. Thank you for coming to story time today, everybody. I really appreciate it. This week we're learning all about pumpkins. So I have 2 books about pumpkins for you today. The thing about pumpkins is that they don't really require too much of an introduction. So we can get right to the awesome storybooks, and I can stop gabbing my mouth. I'm Mrs. Alley from the Naples Library, and I'm here to present your story time of the week. All right, the first book that we are offering today, we have 2 books today. The first book we are offering is called The Great Pumpkin Contest by Angie Roselar. And this book is so great at showing us that there are different ways of doing everything, and that just because we do things differently doesn't mean that we can't be kind, generous, and friendly. This book was published by Catherine Teagan Books, which is an imprint of the HarperCollins books. Excuse me, I have some seasonal allergies today, so I'm a little bit stuffy. All right, so we begin by seeing on this tree, it says Cat County Great Pumpkin Contest, and there are some cats everywhere. I'm going to pull this in a little bit so I don't have to lean forward so much. Thanks. So, the leaves were beginning to change color. The air had become brighter and colder, and with the change in seasons from summer to fall, it was time for Cat County's Great Pumpkin Contest. Can you see some things in this picture that show it being fall time? What things in this picture show things that happen in the fall? Can you see that these leaves are changing colors? They're not green like in the summertime. They're yellow and orange and brown. It's fall time. In this little county lived 2 cats as different as can be. Mimi, this cat, spent her days reading stories about cats who were bold and smart and loved. Sometimes she wished she had a friend. Clara, this cat, preferred to be outside tending her garden and having tea parties with her friends. Both of these cats wanted to be the first prize ribbon winner in the Great Pumpkin Contest. See, they have differences, but they both want the same thing. Earlier that summer, Mimi had read all the books, and she formed a plan. What's she holding in her hand there? That's a little packet of pumpkin seeds and a shovel. She found the sunniest spot in her garden. She made sure it was away from the wind, and she added the right plant foods, and then dug tiny little holes and planted her pumpkin seeds. Can you see the little tiny holes she dug? They're kind of hard to see because it's pretty dark. Look, she's got a friend here, a little snail. Then she waited and waited and waited some more. Look, she's yo-yoing. Until one day, yippee! A tiny sprout had appeared. Soon there were vines and then flowers. See these vines and flowers growing? Next door, Clara had happily planted her pumpkin seeds all over her garden. Before long, her pumpkin patch was filled with lots and lots of little vines and flowers. How many vines and flowers are in Clara's garden? Let's count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 plants that Clara's growing. Clara peeked at Mimi's pumpkin patch. There was one pumpkin that was getting very big and very round. "Wow," said Clara, "your pumpkin looks amazing. How did you make it grow so big?" Across the fence, Mimi said, "I've read lots of books." "Very smart," said Clara, and she went back to tend the crop that she had of little pumpkins. It looks like Mimi is very protective of her big pumpkin, and isn't she? And it looks like Clara's just curious. Mimi's pumpkin continued to grow and grow and grow. Wow, that pumpkin is huge, gigantopolis. Absolutely enormous. And Clara's pumpkins grew too, just not quite as big. You can see Clara in this picture watering her pumpkins. And you can see Mimi's pumpkin over the fence. Can you spot Mimi's huge pumpkin? It's right here. It's so big that it's taller than this whole wall. Holy tornado! That's a big pumpkin. Soon it was time for the Great Pumpkin Contest. But how was Mimi going to get her enormous pumpkin to the fair? She tried pushing it. And she tried pulling it. But it would not budge. It was just no use. The pumpkin was too big. If only there were another way to get it to town. Can you spot another way to get the pumpkin to town? What's in this picture that she could use to help her lift the pumpkin? What's this right here? Can you tell? Ta-da! A wheelbarrow! It was perfect. Mimi rolled her gigantic pumpkin into the cart and set off for the fairground. She couldn't wait for everyone to admire her gigantic pumpkin. And Clara stacked up some of her beautiful little pumpkins and headed to the fair too. She was also very proud of her pumpkins. See that? They're very different pumpkins, but each of them are just as proud as the other. The road to town was bumpy. The pumpkin wiggled. The pumpkin jiggled. And soon Mimi's giant pumpkin began to tip. It teetered. It tottered. Look out for that pothole, Mimi! Oh no, there's a hole right in front of her wheel, and she can't see it because the pumpkin is so big. What do you think's gonna happen? Let's find out. It rolled right out of that rickety wheelbarrow with an enormous thunk. Splat! Kablooey! Oh wow, there's pumpkin everywhere. The whole town was covered in Mimi's giant gloopy schloopy pumpkin. And Mimi was horrified. She was so embarrassed. She ran back home and hid embarrassing. At home, Mimi said to herself, "Oh no, there were pumpkin guts everywhere. Who will ever want to be my friend now?" as she hid behind her couch pillows. Later that day, though, Mimi heard a knock at the door. "It was Clara. I brought you a pumpkin, even though it's not so big. Maybe next year you could show me your pumpkin growing secrets," she said. Mimi slowly smiled. "Yes, I would like that." That's so kind of Clara to come and give her another pumpkin because hers broke. Mimi sat and stared at Clara's pumpkin, and soon she formed a new plan. What do you think she's doing with that pumpkin? Looks like she's carving it, doesn't it? What do you think she's carving into that pumpkin? The next day, Mimi went down to the fair. She had a surprise just for Clara. "Come in the tent. Come see what I've made." A first prize pumpkin they could enjoy together as friends. You see that? She carved a pumpkin with both of them holding hands to symbolize their new friendship. Isn't that so great? Perfect. Positively splendid. It's the cat's meow. And over here on this page, it has the life cycle of a pumpkin. So we start at the very top with pumpkin seeds. And then we plant them and we have a pumpkin sprout. If we water that sprout and give it sunlight, it turns into a little vine with a flower. Then a little pumpkin starts to grow, a green pumpkin. Then eventually later in the year, that pumpkin gets larger and turns orange. And when you want to carve your pumpkin, you can see on the inside that it's totally full of like hundreds and hundreds of pumpkin seeds, which you can save and plant next year. And then you'll have a whole bunch of pumpkins to carve next year. So just think of that when you're carving your pumpkins this year for Halloween. You can always save the seeds, and if you take the seeds out and you toast some of them in the oven, they make a delicious snack. All right, and our second and last book of the day is called Christopher Pumpkin. This story's a little bit scary. Can you handle it with me? Are you brave enough to read this book? This book is written by Sue Hendra, and it's a Little Brown and Company book. I might have to move back a little bit, huh? All right. This is a dark and scary castle. Look who's in the window there. What do you think that is? On Snaggletooth Lane in a spooky Spooksville was a dark, creepy castle perched high on a hill. Deep in that castle, by the glow of the fire, sat a wicked old witch with a burning desire to throw a huge party, the scariest yet, one that her friends would never forget. The sign here says scary party tomorrow, and Frankenstein's looking at it very excited. There's too much to do. It'll drive me berserk. How? Now who can I find that will do all the work? The witch looked around. Then what did she spy? What is this witch looking at? Look at her. Ding, 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 ding. What did she spy? Pumpkins. A big pile of pumpkins that she'd bought for a pie. They could be useful and scary as well. I'll bring them to life with the help of a spell. She was making an army and having a ball as they sprang into life to she gave names to them all. We have Gnarly and Grizzly and Grunty and Roar, Snaggletooth, Stinkface, and maybe one more. The witch raised her hand, and one final go, there were sparkles and glitter. And a voice said, "Hello! I'm Christopher Pumpkin. I like all things fun. I'm so happy to be here. Group hug? Anyone?" What do you think these pumpkins said when he wanted to hug them? He stretched out his arms and gave them a grin, overflowing with kindness and warmth from within. And these guys are like, "Oh, we hate hugs. That's gross. Nobody wants to hug you, Christopher Pumpkin, you weird pumpkin." "Oh no," screeched the witch. "What on earth did I make? You're supposed to be scary. I've made a mistake." "Now hang on a minute," said Christopher P. "I'm sure I'll fit in. Now just you wait and see." "All right," snapped the witch, "as there's so much to do. But Christopher Pumpkin, I'll be watching you." "Now get on with your work and make decorations. I want horrible, ghastly, frightful creations," said the witch. "Did someone say decor? That's right up my street. Forget about tricks and prepare for a treat," said Christopher Pumpkin. Then there was lifting and shifting and huffing and grunting, but while others hung cobwebs, Chris hung up bunting. These little flags here that Christopher Pumpkin is holding, that's called bunting. And that's usually used for like happy birthday parties and stuff. But he's using them during the scary party. That doesn't work, does it? Then along came the witch. "Work harder, buffoons!" But instead of bat lanterns, Chris chose balloons. Instead of these scary lanterns, he wanted to make things cheerful and joyful. Now that's not what the witch wants. The horrified pumpkins all scuttled away. They needed to find party music to play. "My favorite music is howling and screaming," said Gnarly the Pumpkin, his scary eyes gleaming. "I'm sorry," said Chris, "but that sounds bizarre. Let's all have a sing-song. I've brought my guitar." His guitar with flowers on it. Not very scary, Mr. Pumpkin. "Now for the food." It was time to begin, so they stood around the cauldron, tossing things in. Look how gross and yucky that is. What color is that stew? Green. And can you see different bugs in there? Worms, snails. There's a giant hairball right there. Gross, gross, gross. First, some earwax. Then a hair from a yeti. A poisonous bug and some moldy spaghetti. The The result was rat pizza, all sprouting with hair, and stinky green cheese made from old underwear. Some hot curried slugs, fried spicy snakes. Look at that. It's just gross. Then in walked our Chris with some pink fairy cakes. Oh, these are delightful. Would you like to try one of these? This just isn't working. I think you'll agree, said the witch as she glared down at Christopher P. I've had quite enough. You're not part of this group. If you cannot be scary, I'll turn you into soup. You've got till the morning. Have I made myself clear? Poor Christopher nodded, frozen with fear. What's he gonna do to be scary enough? I don't want to be soup or pie or a stew. I'll stay up all night and I'll plan what to do. I'm Christopher Pumpkin. I like all things fun. But there must be a way I can scare everyone. He worked through the night, never taking a break. But the clock, it was ticking. Soon the witch would wake. The morning arrived, and the pumpkins all stared at Christopher's bed. He's gone, they declared. I suppose it's better he went without fuss. There was really no chance he could ever scare us. Along came the witch. Now out of my way! My guests are arriving. The party's today. So poor Chris had vanished, or so it would seem. But from outside came an almighty scream! Ah! It's horrid! It's nasty! This just isn't funny. Please, someone stop him! I want my mommy! All of the Halloween friends are horrified. There were unicorns skipping, balloons on the door, fluffy pink kittens, and sparkles galore. There were marshmallow puffs piled up in the mountains, strawberry milkshakes squirting from fountains. I'm Christopher Pumpkin. I like all things fun. But before he could finish, the witch shouted, Run! Wait, don't you like it? Chris called with delight. Well, one thing's for sure. I scared them all right. The end. So there we have it, friends. Christopher Pumpkin remained true to himself, and he still accomplished what he was created to do, which in this case was scare everybody by being so nice. But I'm sure your case is a little bit different than his. All right, everybody, thank you so much for coming and learning with us today. Thank you for learning about friendship, about differences, and how we can make change and difference ourselves. I hope that you enjoyed my 2 books, and I hope to see you next week when we celebrate Halloween. I have some pretty cool stuff in store for you, and I might be wearing some pretty weird things, so I would tune in if I were you. Anyway, everybody, have a happy weekend. It was nice to see you today. See you later.